Hey, warriors, don't pay no attention to all this. So, I want to talk about something that I've been noticing through working with light language. Not just speaking it, but listening to it. Okay. It's not, okay. So, over time, okay, I realized something pretty awesome, actually. I'm quite impressed with myself, to be completely honest. Um, it's obviously not teaching me words, okay? But it is changing how I experience language itself. And isn't that what we're all kind of doing, anyways? We hear all the videos say, instead of saying I have to, say I need to, or I want to, or I wonder how this is going to work out, or you know what I mean? It's changing the things that we say. And I think that I want to explore this more because I think that's pretty awesome. We were taught, okay, to think of language like through vocabulary, definitions, literal meaning, right? But before we ever understood words as children, we understood emotion, cadence. We felt language before we could translate it as children. You know what I'm saying? Um, what if that layer, I guess, never went away and we just stopped, I don't know, paying attention to it, right? Um, cuz when you hear light language, okay, you're not decoding it mentally. Okay? You're experiencing it. Your body is listening to it. Okay? Not your analytical mind. You feel the resonance, the expansion, the emotion, the regulation, and maybe even sometimes you're feeling resistance. Okay, but it engages, to with the nervous system directly. Okay, so after repeated exposure, I think something very interesting could start to happen. Do you know what I mean? Um, you start becoming more, sensitive to people's tones behind their words, which, like I said, which is what we're all trying to do, anyways. I think this can really help. Um, but yeah, the emotional charge in people's speech, the authenticity versus people's performance. Do you know what I mean? Coherence versus distortion, that kind of thing. I think it's going to make us more sensitive to these things. I really fucking do. But because even in myself, after doing this for as long as I have, you know um I don't only hear what people say anymore. Do you know what I mean? I've started feeling, how they're saying it, you know um I don't know, language shifts. Do you know what I'm saying? um who Okay, so language shifts from, like, what does this mean? Okay, to uh, what does this feel like in my body, right? Okay, so if you've been doing these, maybe you've noticed, um, I don't know, needing fewer words, which I wish I could get that. Okay, because I think I say too many words, but you start, maybe you're noticing that you're speaking more intentionally. And like I said, we're all trying to do this anyways. Um, you know, what else? Maybe you're reacting more to, okay, so like listening to my video right now, maybe you're listening more to my tone than the actual content. Do you know what I'm saying? Um, I don't know. I think we're onto something here. I think this could honestly help with, us trying to do this with our language, because you're engaging, the vibrational layer of communication again. Ancient practices, they always worked this way. Mantras, chanting, um what is that called? Speaking in tongues, ceremonial song, toning. They weren't meant to be, translated. They were meant to entrain the body in your fucking consciousness. Do you understand? Um, Light language, it sits, I think it sits in that same damn category. I also think I also think that's why, when I was speaking of the integration earlier, why that matters is why that is so important, you know, because when language becomes vibrational again, and it looks like it's headed that way, you know, um, my cat's about to knock my phone over, I think. But when that does happen, words carry weight, I think we're going to start feeling more. Um, Tone, it carries impact. And I think that we are going to start noticing these things more. Do you know what I mean? So, I don't know. I think that it's going to help us become more responsible with our speech and maybe even more discerning with what we are listening to, if I'm making sense. So, but no, obviously the light language isn't teaching us some alien dialect, okay? I know not, I hope nobody thinks that that's what I'm trying to say, because it's not. But our ability, you know, to feel language, I think it might be something that we have lost along the way, you know? Um, I mean, in fact, we know this, but just, I don't know, not just translating it, but like feeling being able to hear. Okay, let's talk about this. Feeling frequency or hearing frequency, not just words, and I think it's going to, as that sensitivity to those kinds of things returns, um, communication, I think it's going to become less about information and more about coherence. I hope the hell I'm making sense because I'm really tired. Love you.